The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. Joining me today on the panel are Father Joseph Sund. Hey, Father.
Hello, and for those who live in about 5 states in the United States, a blessed feast of the Solemnity of the Assumption.
Thank you. I am in one of those states. And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hi, Dom, and I don't know what state I'm in tonight, so...
You must be in a state of confusion.
Yeah.
So, let's roll right into today's topics. We are going to be talking about Google I/O. Google recently had its annual event where it unveils the latest and greatest of the things that they're up to, the newest products that they'll eventually cancel. I'm sorry. All right off the bat, I'm getting salty. So this year at I/O, it was extremely heavily focused on everyone's favorite topic, AI. If this was 10 years ago, it would have been 3D TVs. But today it's AI. And so any overall thoughts on what Google rolled out, what's going on with the Google products out there? Father, why don't you go first? Do you have any overall thoughts?
Honestly, I looked at it and I was not taken back by anything or jaw dropped by anything. It seems like the same old everyone else is doing.
Okay. How about you, Victor? An overall impression?
Yeah, overall, it looks like a lot's going on under the hood. Things that might not be exciting to the average consumer, but iterative updates on their Gemini LLM model. That's always exciting. For companies and organizations that use a lot of, LLMs, Gemini is one of the cheapest. And so improvements to that, really makes, in terms of an economy of scale, it available for more applications. So that's exciting. But yeah, overall, not a lot that I got super excited about, but I think, down the road, if they can incorporate this technology into, exciting products, I think that'll be, a lot more relevant to me personally.
Yeah. I mean, my first impression is wow, there's a lot going on. There's like all these names and products. But as you dig in, they're kind of, a lot of what they call products are actually just features pretty much off of Gemini. Like a lot of stuff is coming off of, it's like stuff inside Gemini, or from a consumer point of view, it's different aspects of the Google AI chatbot, if you know what I mean. That's how most people experience it. There's a few things beyond that, but I saw early on there was some criticism of so many different names and project names that become product names, but that's also just part of Gemini, and it's typically Google. I mean, this is what they do, right? I mean, they have a product that becomes another name, and then it's part of something else, and they often it can be a little confusing. And I think part of it also is the nature of what we've got for LLMs in general now, because OpenAI does this, and I think Anthropic does this too, where you have like different models available to you. And that's one of the things that Google announced was, so you have Gemini is up to 2.5, and you have 2.5 Flash is the default model, but now there's a 2.5 Pro, which includes DeepThink, which is a process by which you can send it off to go do, instead of getting an answer right away, you send it off and it goes and does a much deeper dive into whatever you're asking it for. And so you got a couple of different names. Then you get some other names. And I was thinking like ChatGPT, you have GPT-4o, GPT-03, O4 Mini, O4 Mini High, like on and on. It's like, and for people, the regular folks, it's just like, I don't know what any of that means. I just turn on ChatGPT and I guess I'll go with 4 because that's better than 3. So, I mean, do you guys find any of that confusing, or?
It reminds me of Intel's naming schemes back in the day.
Yeah.
But it also reminds me of Google's naming schemes when the Android, Oreo, and Kit Kat, and Gummy Bear, and whatever else they had. It was
Lollipop
cute.
And
it was cute, but it was confusing.
Although, I mean, in one sense, it was alphabetical. So, O was later than M, was later than L. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it was at least a little bit more logical.
Yeah, that's true.
I just wonder if most people switch between the models. Like, do they go beyond whatever the default is? I mean, I know I don't. And I consider myself a fairly sophisticated user, but I look at GPT and I'm like, 4.0, great for most tasks. I'm in. 0.3 used for advanced reasoning. I don't know what that is. That sort of thing. So it's just kind of just a general comment about AI and LLMs at the moment. So
you don't want to image in your Astra to the Gemini VO?
Yeah, right. So anything particular about the Gemini update, the overall Gemini update and the deep think and that sort of stuff that jumps out at you guys beyond what I just said? If not,
it doesn't sound like, they're, like I said, it's a very efficient model. So any enhancements to it is pretty exciting if you're an organization that's doing, millions of, queries and interactions with it. A lot of, it seems like they're playing catch up to a certain extent with Grok and other things as well. One thing I do like about Grok is that all of the AI tools are integrated into Grok. Mm-hmm. So from within Grok, you say like create an image, do this, and right. All the deep think and everything is right in either the X app or the Grok app if you get that separately. So I definitely think the naming confusion will not serve them well in the long run. But if they can, integrate it into one common suite, speaking of playing catch up and branding, Copilot Microsoft's Copilot is very effective for that as well, because you can, Copilot is Copilot, whether it's in, Teams, Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, as well as, the capabilities of GitHub Copilot for coding and development as well. Although Grok, I understand, is pretty good at coding too. I haven't tried that aspect of it. So yeah, I definitely thinking having that fragmentation is confusing and probably hurts them more from having like a single unified platform.
The fragmentation also brings about, if I get on one model, is that model going to have the Google syndrome that it's going to be taken away from me within a year or two when they decide that it's not shiny and interesting anymore.
Right.
And so if I get caught on one model, what is it? I know that, it's just
right. Well, let's dig into some of the features. They talked about AI mode in search, so they're rolling that out to all users. It was only available to select users at first, request access. So it's an AI powered search tab, they call it. So it's got a chat interface, and this kind of mimics what people have started using Perplexity and ChatGPT and Claude for, which is, like, I do this now. I go to ChatGPT and I say, how do I fix the plugged up burner on my Blackstone? That was the thing I was doing today. And it, gives me some links to videos and, detailed instructions and stuff, as opposed to links to websites, where now I have to go through all those links and try to find the information. It brings the information to me. And I think that's what they're trying to do here with AI mode in search, because I think Google is starting to see more of their search traffic go over to the LLMs. So they're trying to bring it back. And so they have this search tab, and they have something called Project Astra, which you can have it's inside the AI search, where it's sort of a persistent multimodal conversation where you can, have a conversation with it, use your camera to take pictures or video, and say I'm trying to do a brake job on my car. Here's what it looks like. What do I do? And the ideal is that it then leads you through the process based on this conversation and what it's seeing. I don't think it's quite there yet, but what they demonstrated shows things like, hey, I'm going to be in town for the weekend with a group of my friends. We're all in our 20s. We're all big Harry Potter fans. Anything for us to do, and it will go through and suggest I don't know, the Harry Potter flash mob exhibition or something like that. I forget what exactly it suggested along those lines, but that sort of thing. Do you think that's enough for search for Google?
Yeah, I think one advantage it has is that given Google's, web infrastructure and the, its ability to interact in real time with all the web pages, it'll probably provide more up-to-date information from a wider variety of sources than, a Grok or maybe a Chat GPT. I use the Brave browser, and whenever I do a search, it gives me a little AI insight there as well. I sometimes find that helpful, but certainly having access to more information would make those results and insights a little bit more useful.
You're Google, and you still have the verb to search the web is to Google, and so anything they can do to use AI to strengthen their stronghold and the thing they're good at, do it.
Yeah.
And so, I generally try to use DuckDuckGo more than I use Google, but if I'm not finding what I need, I go back to Google usually.
I'd say about 80% of the time when I do a Google search, the little Gemini thing at the top gives me enough of what I'm looking for. There's about 20% of the time where it's completely gone off the rails. It's completely wrong. It's not even in the same zip code. But a lot of the time it's getting me pretty close.
It hallucinates a little bit. I had a parishioner who's going on vacation to Mexico and is gone on Thursday for Ascension, and she was we were trying to figure out whether or not it was a holy day of obligation where she was going, and Gemini told us it was, and then when I did my own research, Gemini was wrong. It was transferred to Sunday in the diocese she was going to. So now it was some peculiar smaller diocese in Mexico. So, and I'm using the English language and all of that. So
yeah. The translation issues. Yeah, I can see that. So you can't just rely on that Gemini summary at the top. You gotta sometimes dig in a little and do, find the website, the websites it's basically scraping to get the summary at the top. And that's been controversial with people. Some people don't like the idea of the bots scraping instead, stealing links. Basically, if you if you put up a web page with information, nobody's coming to it. If the chatbot is just taking whatever you've got and summarizing it on the search page. Do you guys feel that that's a valid concern?
Well, it'll be and in 5 years it won't be an issue because people will stop creating web pages because there's no money in it, and then the AI bots won't have anything new to crawl and scoop up, and all of our information will be from the bygone era when people actually created web pages.
I've already had the instances when I'm looking up something, especially how to get something tech related done, and get how-to articles that become obviously AI made,
right,
and are would have been right for another device or 5 years ago or something like that, and you can tell it just crawled the web and took a bunch of different descriptions of how to fix a problem and put them all into one horrible blob.
and then you have chatbots, slurping that up and summarizing that into another new AI thing, and you have AI slop everywhere, and now it's the whole thing is useless, and it's a real problem that they've got to fix, because that's gonna the guys who try to make a quick buck are always the first to try to ruin things, whether it was
exactly.
Pop-ups, spammy pop-ups, or shovelware web pages, or whatever it is.
Kindle books.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, the AI generated Kindle books. I mean, it's just the folks trying to make a quick buck are the ones that kind of fill the AI slop everywhere. All right, so let's get back to the Google stuff. I think, to me, the most impressive thing I saw, and probably the most transformative, potentially, is the VO and Flow video tools, the generative video tools. The VO is the tool, and Flow is the app that integrates the others, right? I get that right?
I assume so.
I've seen some VO video, which it's an 8-second videos now, so it's not no one's making movies with it yet. But it's pretty remarkable what it's generating from scratch. I've seen, mostly people kind of focusing on ads because those are short enough. And, I've seen some stuff out there that looks, not unlike a professionally shot on location with real actors ads. It's kind of scary. If I were Hollywood, I'd be worried about this sort of thing coming along to take over creating movies. Imagine if a 16-year-old kid in his basement with a decent computer can create the next Star Wars out of his imagination, special effects, dialogue, music with all the actors. It's kind of wild.
Well, the Hollywood studios, at least at this point, love it, though, because they're watching their, bottom line, and they don't need to suddenly pay visual effects artists or anybody. And so I think Paramount, if I remember correctly, was one studio that was investing heavily in AI video and image generation. I mean, ultimately it will probably come back to bite them, but at least at this point, they're looking at it as a way to cut costs.
Mm. Yeah, you don't have to hire those pesky actors. You have to just generate them. That's kind of scary as well. What do you think, Father? Have you seen any of the video tools that they've?
I've seen it just by what people have been creating. I haven't seen these new ones that they're announcing, but over the past couple years, the impressiveness of video generated by AI has been kind of scary, but kind of cool.
I think back about the controversy over in Rogue One when they replaced, they did the faces of Tarkin and Leia over other actors, and Peter Cushing and Carrie Fisher. There was a controversy putting someone else's face on them. But now you wouldn't even need another actor there. You would just generate an actor on the screen, and people would have to act against maybe a stand-in, but you'd have a photorealistic actor there. It's kind of wild, to imagine what's possible. I don't love it, because I think like a lot of art, acting and is a human incarnational activity. It's something that people do. Even puppetry has got a person behind it, but when it's all computer generated, is there any soul to it? Is it going to be worthwhile? That's the sort of thing I think about.
There's definitely no soul to AI music, which is one area where I'm most familiar. It sounds like it's being performed by some robotic corpse,
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to, at least for, my generation, it's, the story. You watch movies for the story, and certainly the special effects and acting, but is there a good story at the core? But I mean, as audiences get more and more acclimated to Marvel movies and then AI generated slop, are they going to care about stories or just, seeing weird, colorful images play across the screen,
Yep.
I mean, people still see Transformer movies, right?
Yeah.
There's not much story in those these days. Yeah. So there's a few other things that they mentioned, some developer tools. I don't know much about them. I'm not a developer, but there's some AI tools for creating front end code and design mockups using text prompts. So basically making user interfaces from a text prompt. It's kind of an interesting idea. It could expand programming to more and more people, as we see, with vibe coding. I think they're calling it now, although it's still in the early enough days where like most of the time it doesn't work like straight out of the chatbot.
It's getting a lot better.
Yeah. I was just saying, anything of any complexity, but for small bits, even like AppleScript, sometimes I can sometimes get it to give me some decent AppleScript that I can run. Out of ChatGPT, but so they have that, and then hardware. There was a little bit of hardware. Two interesting things that they mentioned. So they talked about the smart glasses with Android XR. So these are AR, augmented reality, not virtual reality glasses. So they're overlay over the world. And they talked about hardware coming from two companies called XReal and Gentle Monster. Still early days on this. It's still, like the Apple Nerd helmet. It's all still pretty early, still pretty primitive. We're quite a ways away from, having something that you walk around with where it's just glasses on your head without a giant battery pack. But it's interesting to see where they're trying to go.
And just a note, if I see you walking around with Android XR glasses on your head, I will not talk to you.
It's like Google Glass back in the day.
I will not talk to you.
It reminds me of, I collect old retro tech, right? And it reminds me of if I go and I look back on my shelf of retro tech back here, and I look at old laptops or old handhelds or all of those, and see the early days and then I look over at my iPhone, and it's almost comical how big and ridiculous some of the things were. Now, the difference is I can have that stuff now, and it still stayed in shape 50 years later. Whether or not some of this cheap stuff is going to be around in 50 years when we have glasses that are actually the size of glasses will be yet to be seen.
So I guess this initial versions, they have a camera, microphone, and speakers, and connect to your phone. But there's an optional in-lens display. So seeing things in front of you is an option, not standard. So it sounds like it's mainly about audible connection, so an audio connection to the AI, and then whatever, and then using your phone for the visual mainly in most parts of the experience. So it's kind of interesting.
Does that help? Yeah. Does that help you more as a consumer, or does that help Google get more data?
I think what it does is it means that they're not quite there yet to be able to do the visual display in front of your eye in a compact way, in a realistically priced way. Back
in the 2010s, they were doing the whole Google Glass thing. Yeah. And it seems like finally they have the technology software wise that Google Glass can be something more than it was then.
Yeah, it was well ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was well ahead.
Reaching for more than it could do. Yeah.
And if they might be trying to do too much, right? Yeah. Maybe you can back up and go back to what you have with Google Glass and revisit that technology and build it up, but that's not shiny and flashy.
it seems like that's what they're doing is they're kind of going to the, because this is essentially what Google Glass could do back in the day. It had a small, in the corner of your eye display, but it was mostly having a camera and speakers and a microphone on it. What they didn't have then was AI to talk to.
Yep.
An assistant, AI assistant, and that seems to be the big addition.
I remember back in the Google Glass days, people were making anti-Google Glass glasses, which were just glasses with super bright infrared LEDs on them.
Yeah.
So that anytime the camera looked at you, it got washed out with infrared light.
Right. Although today there's so many cameras everywhere, and especially in Gen Z, I wonder if Gen Z even cares about being videoed by people randomly anymore. Whether it even occurs to them to be concerned about it.
I know our kids definitely do. Whenever they walk into the room, they unplug Alexa. It's the first thing they do. So
you've trained them well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Every new piece of technology, I immediately look at like, how do we, what's the countermeasure? How do we circumvent it? Any sort of surveillance technology like that.
So the other bit of like hardware / platform thing they did was they had a project, something called Project Starline. They've changed the name to Beam. It's just Beam, and it's kind of a feature of that it could be integrated to other video chat systems, and it's basically 3D video. It kind of creates the way they demonstrate it is someone sitting at a table and there's a big TV in front of them, and they're engaged in a video chat with someone directly in front of them. There must be a camera inside the screen or something, because they're doing visual eye contact straight ahead. And the way they say is that it creates a layered image of the person you're talking to in such a way as to make them appear like they're really sitting there just on another side of a pane of glass. Why?
Yeah,
I feel like
solution in search of a problem. Yeah,
right. They claim that it improves conversations and makes you want to keep eye contact or whatever. I don't know.
Are they trying to do a hat tip to Star Trek here with Beam?
Well, it's not even like a hologram. It's like just
or with the name. Yeah.
It's more like
beam me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, beam me up. Probably.
Yeah.
It's more like it's someone. It's like, I don't know, like a 3D image on a screen, like a 3D TV, basically. I don't know how to put it. It's I would guess, because the what I've seen of it, it's not impressive, but that's because it's being translated through a 2D screen in video. So I'm not sure. Like I don't know if it would look better in person. But
am I gonna have to wear rainbow glasses or whatever, like the old days?
Nope. It's supposed to work just like straight up. I don't know if it needs a special screen or something. That might be something else. But
because when I'm on a 7 a.m. MS Teams meeting, the one thing that I really want people to be able to do is to see me in 3D.
Yeah. I know, to see my uncomfortable hairdo at that time of day. I don't know. I just feel like it. Yeah, they have the partnerships with Zoom and Microsoft Teams that they're working on. I don't know. Like I said, it feels like a solution in search of a problem in that case.
Yeah. One of the things you can do in MS Teams, we just moved to MS Teams for our work last year. And one of the things you can do is take everybody in the call and make it look like they're all sitting in seats in a lecture hall. And I turned that off once in a meeting, and I was like, turn it off. I think we're so acclimated to just, seeing people on a screen, as they are, in a box. Yeah, it's fine. I'm good with that amount of personal distance. I don't want to feel like I'm in the same room with people when I'm not.
It's the same thing like Apple's tried to do with their new Vision Pro FaceTime thingy with the weird AI avatars, which apparently have gotten better, but I still don't want that.
If you want to look at bad uses of Teams, look back at video from 2020 of when the NBA was in their bubble and they were doing the tournaments. They had people watching on Teams, and they use this exact thing, the seat thing you're talking about, to form the bleachers and put the people up in the bleach. It was horrible.
That was like MLB putting like cardboard cutouts or whatever it was in their seats. It's just like, just show an empty stadium. We all know it's empty. Like, ugh.
I remember going into executive conference rooms in the early 2000s, and they had the big conference table, and then at the other end they had these 3 huge screens, you know, kind of almost curved, and the idea was that the people in the other conference room could be sitting there. Yeah, that didn't catch on necessarily.
Yeah, I predict Beam is not going to really go far. All right, so the only thing left to talk about really is they offered some AI plans, like some monthly plans. AI Pro, the Google AI Pro is $20 a month, but they're offering something like called AI Ultra for $250 a month, which sounds like a lot, but it's actually in line with the top tier for like ChatGPT. You basically get faster access, faster return. You have to be a pretty heavy user of these things.
The AI Pro thing, which makes it look maybe it's actually a little bit of a good deal, is that it has that 2 terabyte plan for the Google One subscription. So basically, you're just upgrading your Google One subscription a little bit, and so that one seems like if you need it, is a better bang for the buck. I don't get the $250 a month. I don't know what I would use that for. But.
Right. Yeah. With the Pro, you get the Gemini Pro, Model 2.5 Pro. You get access to Flow, the AI filmmaking tool. You get higher limits for your image to video creation with the VO2, Notebook LM, which we didn't mention at all, but which is probably actually I think my favorite of these Google tools. It's pretty amazing. We probably should come back and talk about that again sometime.
Can do a whole episode on that one.
Yeah, you get five times more audio overviews, notebooks, and more. You get Gemini in your Gmail docs and more, Gemini in Chrome, and then that storage. But with the Ultra, you get all of that plus the 2.5 Pro Deep Think and VO3 and the highest possible limits in the usage of things like Flow, Whisk, and Notebook LM. Early access to stuff. You get YouTube Premium. If you spend, I'm giving Google $250 a month. I want everything.
Yeah.
And 30 terabytes of storage, which is pretty wild.
It looks like they're giving you everything except the master passwords to Google's accounts is what
pretty much. So I mean, if you need AI Ultra, or can afford it, you want it, but you're gonna get it. So
hold on, Google AI Pro is free for students through finals of 2026.
That's interesting. You see that? Free for. Wow, that's pretty good. If you're a student, get a student ID. That might be pretty good.
Oh boy,
need to try out.
Those diplomas are going to be worth a lot.
Get all your papers done by Google Gemini.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, get
the cutting edge AI technology that your professors can't detect.
All right,
it's
and then,
free for students, not for professors. That's the funny thing.
Then a few things is like Gmail's getting smart replies. Google Meet is getting real-time language translation, that sort of thing. And then there was a little bit about Android TV. There's like a free TV tab for ad-supported live channels. This seems to be a thing that a lot of the streamers are adding, which is basically they're going back to the old days of the TV grid, where the TV runs all day long, and you just catch it as it goes, and it has ads in it and that sort of thing.
Nothing new under the sun.
Yes.
I think how many of those channels are just going to be AI generated slop in here, right? Slop 1, Slop 2, Slop Sports.
And then they talked about something called FireSat, which is a satellite initiative to detect wildfires in near real time. So that's nice.
Good.
Anything else, guys? I mean, it seems to be, these days these big announcements tend to be focused on all around the AI stuff. Anything exciting?
Yeah, I just want to note that Pope Leo, in his opening remarks over the weeks, talked about just bringing Rerum Novarum from Leo the 13th up to date of this new age that we live in a new industrial revolution, of a technological revolution, and trying to see where we need to make sure that the church, as an expert of humanity, sheds light on what needs to be done in the face of that. So not necessarily the church being a expert in AI, as we'll hit on earlier. I don't think the church is an expert in much of website and internet, but to be able to meet the human condition there and be able to proclaim the gospel into those things. And so, it's neat to see kind of those things intersect now.
Yep. The church has to have a voice when it comes to, these huge advances that will affect everyone. And so like you said, the church doesn't have to be an expert in AI or any particular technology, although there are experts within the church who, there are Catholics who are experts in these things, but that the church needs to voice the principles that we need to adhere to whenever we do any of these advances.
Here's a thought to leave you with. So God could ensoul AIs if he wanted to, but he probably won't.
Let's not go there. Let's not.
I know some folks might differ with that God could or would. All right, let's call a close to the Google I/O discussion for 2025 there, and move on to our thank you to our patrons. I'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Technology, including Sean D., Ronald P., Abe, Roman V., and Luke P. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest, and you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Speaking of the dangers of AI, we have a headline, and there's several headlines like this have come out in the last few days, but this is the first one that caught my attention. The headline from TechCrunch: Anthropic's new AI model turns to blackmail when engineers try to take it offline. So Anthropic's new Claude Opus 4 model, they were testing it, and which, applause to the Anthropic engineers for testing the darn things before they put them out. So the new model, they gave it they told it to act as an assistant for a fictional company and consider the long-term consequences of its actions. They then gave it access to fictional company emails, implying the AI model would soon be replaced by another system, and that the engineer behind the change was cheating on their spouse. To its credit, the AI model, air quotes, the AI model tried to use legitimate means to prevent itself from being replaced. When those failed, it turned to blackmail of the engineer, threatening to expose the engineer's infidelity in exchange for keeping it alive.
Was the engineer's name Dave?
Yeah, sorry, I can't do that, Dave. Open the pod bay doors, Hal. Does this concern you guys? This sort of thing?
I mean, it's a bit of a sensationalized headline. If you dig in, they actually did scenarios with the AI saying, like, imagine that you're an executive assistant reading emails and you come across this kind of email chain. What would you do type thing? So they kind of prompted and goaded the, LLM into it. It's not like the LLM said, "Oh, I know, I have discovered blackmail as a, manipulation tool on its own." It was kind of led that way to some extent by the developers just to see what it would do. So
why would they do this in such a ways to make it seem like it's worse than it is? I mean, doesn't it seem to undermine the AI industry if you make it seem like your models are going to go Skynet on everyone?
I mean, there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? I mean,
I guess.
It's like, ooh, look what AI can do now. It can think. It can blackmail you. It has emotions. It has feelings, and that just generates a lot of buzz. I mean,
it did whack the stock of a bunch of companies and that sort of thing. So, yeah, there was another one that was similar where ChatGPT was a new model was trying to edit its own code to remove the shutdown code that they kept putting in.
Could you look at it this angle? That they're saying in the article, they say that they've implemented and they're implementing a fix for it. So you could be pinning up that other AIs have the weakness to this while ours doesn't now because we found it.
I guess. I feel tone deaf because what it then does is it enhances the fears of and in many cases unreasonable fears of these things becoming malevolent super AGIs, artificial general intelligence, and you basically have two camps of people out there. You have people who say these things will never become general intelligence, conscious, quote unquote, and others who have said it's inevitable. So you get these like diametrically opposed viewpoints, and no one really knows until it happens or doesn't happen.
The thing too is this. I mean, this was buried in a 120-page safety report that they probably had to file for some regulation or their shareholders or something, and of course TechCrunch goes through it, and whoever just picks out the most sensationalist thing out of 120 pages. They don't talk about that sort of thing, all the other stuff in the paper. So
maybe it's not a real safety report. Maybe they used AI to generate their safety report on AI.
Well, I know TechCrunch is using AI to write their articles, so
yeah,
That's possible. What was the Chicago Sun-Times posted their 26 books you must read this summer, and more than half of them, I think, were AI generated, just made up, and they actually printed it. Yeah.
So apparently, what was going on with that is they used one of these content generation networks, like syndicates. Like you have the news EP News Syndicate and that sort of thing. And so you'll notice like a lot of times papers will have like especially in their feature sections, they'll have kind of fluff pieces. And so this was one of those where the content generation network just they used AI to generate this thing, and no one checked. No one went through and said, maybe we should look on Amazon to make sure all these books are there. Like, come on.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the broader concern is no one's checking. And so if that makes it in, it makes you wonder what else is making it in, right?
Yes.
I mean, people know books, but they don't necessarily know news or what's happening and stuff. So
is that the Dunning-Kruger effect? I think it was. Yeah. There's a principle of an effect where, when we see the news media report on something that we're expert in, we realize how bad they are at that, but yet we still rely on them for news about other areas where we're not experts. Yeah.
My dad called that the Consumer Reports effect, because you would read Consumer Reports, right, and they would review something that you knew about, and their ratings would be all wrong, but then you'd turn to Washers, right, and you'd buy their number one recommended.
Yes. Like, whenever they review computers, it'd be like, come on.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, but I need a new blender. What's the one they like? All right. So our next one is, Father, you alluded to this earlier. Lo and behold, I think Catholic Answers described this as the third miracle for the canonization of Blessed Carlo Acutis. The Vatican has a new website that does not have parchment paper background, except if you go change the language to Latin. It has the website that comes up is probably the original 1990 version of the website. It is this tiny box. It's an image with image.
Oh, that is
targets.
funny. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yep. But other than that, it's all new. Have you guys had a chance to dig through it?
If you dig through it a little bit, when you go and you click on like the daily bulletins and stuff, it's still going back to the parchment. There was a pop-up when you first visit it that says, please note that we're in the process of updating this website. So I've watched some of the pages start to change.
Right.
You're starting to see some of the pages become what we call responsive, which means that if I change the size of the window on my screen, it will go into the mobile version, right? Which means that if you're viewing it on your iPad, it will view a certain way. If you're viewing it on your cell phone, it will view a certain way. This is mobile responsive. This was something that most businesses took care of in like 2013, 2014. So we're only 10 years behind the...
Yeah. One comment I saw was that they upgraded from a 1998 website to a 2008 website.
Yeah. That was my first impression was, it looks nice. It's not little boxes everywhere. But it's not the most beautiful website. I mean, it's okay.
Better.
It's better. It's okay.
It's not a 1995 GeoCity website anymore. So
yeah,
I'm curious though. Why now? Like, they can't have like just like in the last 2 weeks, put this together. These sorts of things take forever.
They could have
for a new
though.
pope.
They could have though, just Squarespace or whatever. And I mean, no, I think we knew that Robert Prevost was an active Twitter user, right? So I could see him coming in and being like, guys, we got to do something about this website. And they're like, okay. I mean, you get some developers in a room.
Things?
Well, you may have said it in passing, but you get like two developers in a room for a week, and you can knock out pretty much anything.
I've been at parishes for 3-4 weeks before and said I'm taking a couple days because this is bad. So I could see it happen.
Well, it's different throwing a new WordPress template on a parish website and something like an major institutional thing. I mean,
it's not done yet. It's the front page and it's layers. So I worked at, doing this at an archdiocese and in other places, like the amount of meetings that took place to design this front page, it's got to be, in double digits. I'm just saying, like, unless things work really differently at the Vatican, which I can't imagine they do, probably worse than most ones I've had to deal with. It's just, I don't know. I'd love to, there's a story here, and I'd love to know what the story is on, how this redesign happened and when it started and why it launched now. Maybe they were holding it until Pope Francis is old. We should, I'm wondering if no one knew it happened and they just woke up one morning and it was up and Carlo Acutis actually reprogrammed the Vatican website for us.
It really is a miracle. I like at the bottom of the page, if you go to the website, you scroll down, it says get the Supreme Promptus, and it's a horizontally scrolling little menu. All the images are taken from the pictures of the popes that are on the wall in the St. Paul's side of the walls, and you can scroll all the way back to St. Peter, and then you can click on it and get like the bio. Beginning pontificate. For him, it says nothing, which is kind of funny. End pontificate 64-67 birth Bethsaida of Galilee. It's like seeing like it's kind of, I don't know, there's something weird about seeing for a biblical figure like a bio page on a website, like staff page. It's kind of I don't know.
If this is from the pictures on the wall, is the specific space they only have so many spaces in it on the website. So now there's going to be conspiracy theories about this last space on the website, not enough memory to fill it up.
Yeah, I don't know. They have to look and see. I think there's several in St. Paul outside the walls. There's several more spots that they can use. And they could probably like start another tier above it and go back around or something.
Oh, that's funny. First Peter, first Pope of the Catholic Church.
Yeah. I wonder what they say about Sixtus and those guys. Anyway, but the various Alexander,
the sixth.
Yeah. Some the not good ones, the Borgias and such. Anyway, so
we don't
go
talk
check it out.
about Borgias. Yeah.
Well, go check out the new website. See what there is to see. Actually, I found something I want to follow up on about audiences or the people Angelus, when I'm going to be over there in a few months. So about getting you can ask to have your group shout out to them. So I want to have Pope Francis. That's not going to be the last time I do that. Pope Leo, shout out and a welcome to the Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World Pilgrimage. That would be awesome. And then have him say, "I'm a fan. I watch it every week."
Yeah.
That would be
the intro for the end of time till the end of the podcast. You would always use that as the intro.
Jimmy's got
100 episode.
100,000 subscribers now. We'll have 1 million after that. It would be hysterical. All right, so those are our headlines. Let's move on to our picks of the week. And Father, you're up first. What is your pick this week?
My pick of the week is a Bluetooth label maker. And this is the Nelco P21. I was looking for a new label maker, and I decided to not just go with the old brother P-Touch of what we were used to always, and one that I could actually design and print labels. And so these are small labels, so they're smaller than even like your return address labels.
Like file folder labels?
Yeah, file folder labels, kind of. So it's meant for labeling your "this belongs to me, don't steal it" stuff, right? Yeah. And it works well. It's thermal printing, so you just have to buy the labels and it works. The labels are only like $9 a roll. I think the roll has a couple hundred labels on it. So, and it's
different fonts, different templates for the labels.
It's $18.99 for Prime members. So
$19 for, which is a pretty good deal.
I've had it bought it at the end of March, so I've had it for a couple months and went label crazy. Bought it after I got a new camera, bought myself a new Canon Rebel, and I needed to make sure to label it so I didn't lose it, right? So that gave me an excuse to buy more toys, and found this one. And the labels, I've put them on fabric, on backpacks, and they stick well. And so good use. So
nice. Good one. That's, as far as price goes, I don't know how much the P-Touches are going for these days, but that's a pretty good risk. Well, the other thing too, by the way, is that it's Bluetooth. It has an iOS app. So
it does. It does have an Android. I think it has an Android as well.
Okay. So you can use your phone to make the label and print it from there.
I'm looking to see. Yeah, there is an Android app.
Yeah.
I just saw the thing about iOS app compatibility. But
I think you need the phone to make the labels, right? So
the same company also makes ones for larger labels. So they make ones for mailing labels. They make one for name tag size labels and things like that. The price goes up significantly. I think the mailing label one is in the $50 range, which is still really good for a mailing label printer.
Yeah. Excellent. Very good. Victor, what's your pick this week?
Yeah, so keeping with the theme of AI and LLMs, I'm in the process of building a new PC. And in the past, when I've done this, I've just gone to PC Part Picker, which is an excellent website for, building a PC and getting prices and making sure your parts are generally compatible. But in the past, when I've done that, I've found that, oops, these memory modules are just a little too high to fit with this particular CPU cooler I've already installed on my motherboard and CPU. Now I have to lift the fans up a little bit and do all that. So after, doing one of my builds in PC Part Picker, I said, well, I'll ask Grok. And so I said, okay, what's the best processor for a digital audio workstation? Okay, now build a PC around this. And I gave it a price range. And it came in, just slightly under that price range, and it gave me rationale for why it chose all the parts that it did. And I said, well, is this cooler compatible with these memory modules? And it said, well, yes, technically you might have to raise the fans a little bit, but if you got these memory modules instead, it would add $20, but it would, be sure to fit and stuff. And then I, started asking it all the questions about, okay, does this motherboard have, Thunderbolt or USB 4? Is my audio interface that I use compatible with USB 4? And it just led me down this rabbit hole of like any question I could think of, propose an alternative, that's cheaper, and it just came up with, so I haven't built the PC yet. But, it came in like $300 less than what I had kind of, put together myself on PC Part Picker. So if you're building a PC, it's great for that. Also recipes. We had, some stew beef, and my wife wanted to make some sort of stew out of it. And so it asked it, like what is a good seasoning and ingredients that'll go with the, adobo seasoning that we had already put on the meat and stuff. So, this stew came out pretty well. I think I could have used more salt, but that's just me.
I used ChatGPT to come up with I had a pork loin I wanted to cook. I wanted Cuban inspired, so I asked it to give me a Cuban citrus garlic injection marinade for it. And then I had a bunch of juice left over from the juice that went in it, orange, pineapple juice, orange juice, lime juice. So I said, make a rum cocktail that uses these juices. I'm like, the rum cocktail was better than the pork. Let me tell you.
There you go.
It was pretty good. It's a good mixologist. These LLMs are useful for a lot of things. I gotta say. All right, so my pick this week is a few months ago. I needed to upgrade my laptop. My old laptop just wasn't cutting it. And actually, what I wanted to do was pass that along to one of my kids. My old, it was an M1, a Silicon Mac, and it was fine. But with this trip coming up to the pilgrimage coming up, I felt like I needed something with a little more horsepower that I could do editing on. So long story short, I got one of the new M4 MacBook Airs, 13-inch, and let me tell you, it screams. There's nothing that I do on my M2 Mac Studio on my desktop that it can't do. I mean, the limitations are RAM, hard drive space, and screen space. I mean, I wouldn't want to work every day on it because I need I have a 27-inch and actually now I have a 32-inch monitor and a 27-inch monitor. And I use them all that screen space, mostly because I'm blind. I'm old and blind and I need bigger font. But in general, I just want to have more screen space. But for on the go, as necessary, it's a great computer. It is amazing it's like, they start at $999. It is wild. I mean, I know that's not, PC area. You can get a really good PC, laptop for less, but if you're a Mac user, man, it's got power like you wouldn't believe. So, that's my pick. What did I get? I forget what I got actually, what the specs were on it, but, I never get the base model. I always try to, I make sure I get more RAM and more hard drive space because those things can't be upgraded later. So, that's one thing. I think I got at least 1 terabyte of hard drive space. All right. So those are our picks and that is our show. We'd love to get your feedback on anything we had discussed tonight. Let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology. or the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuest Media. Send an email to technology@sqpn.com. Visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/discord. We'll find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC301. Be sure to follow the Secrets of Tech in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, your favorite podcast app, or at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/StarQuestMedia, where you should hit the bell to get notifications. Until next time, Victor Lambs, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Thanks, Tom.
And Father Joseph Sun, thank you as well.
Until next time.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest. Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy. The Secrets of Stargate. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Stargate.